fellow Ambazonians. Today, this is your analyst show, the political analyst. This is your political analyst laboratory. Today, we are trying to bring the message that CAPO Daniel has sent to AYABA. The message you can hear from the audio that he has made public, trying to explain his grievances. Remember, he resigned from the ADF and the AGovC, and many people did not understand his grievances. And this time around, he came to explain to the Ambazonian people his grievances within the organization and what made him to resign and what angered him, what grievances he had with the upper management. So take a listen to the message.
These wordings are principles that have embodied what I represent for Ambazonia. I, CAPO Daniel, I am a patriot, and I have pledged my allegiance to Ambazonia, to our people, to our country, and the betterment of the people of Ambazonia, and to preservance and securing of our public interests. A patriot indeed is what we need, and we want all Ambazonians to be a patriot, fearless, bold, unafraid when it comes to national interests and the people's interests of Ambazonia. Fellow Ambazonians, it is very sad when I look back in what is happening in our liberation struggle. Recently, people have been threatened by members, official members of the AGovC, top officials, threatening individuals on the ground for standing up for CAPO Daniel and the principle for which CAPO Daniel have stand for. A lot of people may wonder, but why will CAPO Daniel resign in the first place? Resigning is not a thing of Ambazonia. Why will CAPO Daniel go and create his own organization and his own force? He has become like every other person, coming out from a group and creating his own group. I want our people to be rest assured. Decisions I made are all out of patriotism. People may not understand the difference between a communal organization and a communal and a non-communal organization. It was very important that I don't abandon our struggle because I am personally responsible for this struggle. I've commanded soldiers to war. I've put up program, recruit soldiers and send them to war. I've assumed the responsibility to lead our war effort to free Ambazonia. And I am responsible, and I will never negate my responsibility to our country and our liberation war. So when I resign, I immediately take up organization and things that I have been doing even before I joined the AGovC. Forces that were under me, that were ongoing and active. I could not abandon them, and I must structure them, and I must account to our people and inform them of my activity even after I resign. It could have been the worst if the main person, your main activist, the most credible voice for Ambazonia, just suddenly resign and disappear in thin air, or just stay in a position even when I know that things were not going on well. I want to tell our people that the threats that have been coming from AGovC officials to people who are on the ground, critical people in our defense structure, and to even activists who have been donating money for the AGovC because they believe in CAPO Daniel. Some of these guys, you know, have been threatened in the UAE, a place where political activities are banned. Ambazonians in those countries are afraid of their life. It's a place where you just do the least thing today, the next day you have been repatriated. Their identity have been exposed on social media because they are posting things that are pro-CAPO Daniel. What have the AGovC become? They have transformed themselves into a political party, and even worse, they are showing that there is no difference between them and what we have been criticizing from other groups. It is a sad reality that we must know. I, CAPO Daniel, I am the one who told Ambazonians to stand behind Dr. Cho, to stand behind the AGovC. And I gave reasons why. Because they were the only organization that upholds certain principles that I believe are crucial for us to win this war. Because for us to win this war, we must uphold principles of collectivity. I have always preached that all my life. You cannot win if you are not selfless. We can only win a liberation by selfless individuals who are willing to give their all, including their own ego, and lay their life on the ground for their own country and the betterment of their people. Just as the writer write about patriotism, it takes only patriots to liberate a country. Just like the Bible will say, only light can drive out darkness. We will not defeat Cameroon with corruption, with abuses, like Cameroon is using against us. We will defeat the very purpose and the spirit of our liberation struggle, and we will go nowhere. But I believe we will go somewhere, and we will attain our freedom if we surmount all these hurdles. Remember, fellow Ambazonians, when Sako Ekome launched my trip to Buea, after he launched it on Eric Tartos, his touch, the next person that advertised my trip to Buea was me, Capo Daniel, because I was seen as an individual who was fair and who was truthful and honest and have the credibility. I brought Sako Ekome in my platform. My face was on my trip to Buea, and we advertised it, and I promised the Ambazonian people that this is going to bring us freedom and this man is credible. I listened to him. I made sure I did my homework. He identified forces that he was counting on and the projects that he hopes 2 million will take Ambazonia to freedom within a couple of months. I doubted the timeline, but I believe he had a strategy and the forces in place, and I brought him and advertised him. Sooner or later, I discovered that Sako had put himself on salary, create a bank account where money was transferred directly into his hands without any accountability. Not only that, that soldiers that money was supposed to go to, that he had told me he was relying on, were actually being under attack, some of them dying and crying that they have no money to purchase bullet, let alone having conversation with Sako Ekome. I could not stay back and be silent. I looked into Sako's private life, and the information he was giving me, the answers were all against reality. I talked to Iringwa, Madame Iringwa, which I respected so much. She lied to my face, in the face of the blood of our people. I could not ignore the dying of our soldiers, and I know if things went that way and I stayed quiet, we are going to lose. And when I came out and I called Sako a con man, Ambazonians almost stoned me to death. People called me and begged me that for the sake of unity, you should have just stayed quiet, or just stay quiet. Don't say anything. You cannot call somebody we have respect as a con man. What about your reputation? Are you not the person who campaigned for my trip to Buea? And I told them I have a responsibility, having campaigned for my trip to Buea. If I see a danger, to tell you, because if I stay quiet, we will not arrive in Buea. Indeed, today, the same people are saying, where is my trip to Buea?
So that was the first audio that we hear from Capo Daniel. Yeah. So the second audio is this.
That plane, if it go for Yaoundé, or let alone maybe for Maryland. Today, my country people, the danger I saw in the decisions that were made by the AGovC and the President Dr. Cho AYABA himself was something that was drifting and had caused us physical loss in Ambazonia. Imagine the thousands of prisoners whose names have been included in the list, and they were aware that they are coming out of prison. Imagine our people who are suffering. If you are not in touch with Ground Zero, you don't know what I mean that our people are suffering. Imagine the relief they could have had. Imagine all the generals that we have lined up and educate them and gather research work that La Republic is going to get into a ceasefire where they will withdraw to their barracks. Only for a decision to be taken not to secure what we had already have in our hand. And at the end of the day, what was the reason? Dr. Cho AYABA himself tell me, Capo Daniel, there have been discussion within the organization that you have amassed so much power. And I say, Jesus Christ. So you were taking decision, rejecting positions that I was insisting. Because people who were feeding your ego by probably reflecting what you want or what you had discussed with them are concerned that Capo Daniel will become strong. No doubt, they refused me from even taking picture with my own people. Our people in Canada prepared themselves, brought in cameras, traveled from long distance to come and meet finally the Capo Daniel. And a ban was put. Do not even take a picture in Canada. Because they don't want people to see Capo Daniel, that man on the street, to be seen as a leader, something that have not even crossed my mind. Decisions were taken to lose and keep our people in prison. For Sika say, they don't want to keep Misomani shine past. How can I even comprehend this type of decision? We insisted and even become irritating to the international community. International partners called and begged for us to take the right decision. We lose everything, even when we had secured the most important thing. We had secured a commitment that includes independence. And nothing else should have mattered. Not even the fear that the Cristiano and the Sako are going to blackmail us that we have sold Ambazonia, because we know we have secured something that was great. And if Dr. Cho AYABA take a decision against the public interest, and I protest, I insisted, we fought everybody. I mean, everybody was unanimous. And you take a decision simply because you don't want Capo Daniel to stand in front. They have been fighting me in every way, and I stay quiet. Even the podcast I put out there every day for our people. You tell me, stop putting podcasts, because you are more afraid that Capo Daniel is gathering power. I'm going to become a one-point failure for Ambazonia. Today, you are crossing the line, threatening people, not because you have any evidence or anything to believe that these people are working for La Republique or have compromised the struggle, but because they have stand on their own to fight for Ambazonia. Difference in opinion. Once you violate this principle of patriotism, you are going nowhere. We cannot win if we follow this direction. If I came out of the AGovC and was continuing to fight for Ambazonia, thinking that the leadership is going to reflect on their wrong decisions and come back in line, and they are doubling in doing exactly what Sako did. Because when we exposed Sako, he did not stop. He doubled down on it, banning groups, declaring a civil war in Ambazonia. If today anybody is willing to kill another soldier because you don't join their group, not because the soldier is compromised, but because you don't join my group, you have lost your way, and that way can never lead us to freedom. I, Capo Daniel, I gave the Ambazonian people hope for the AGovC. I came to tell you that this organization was principle-driven. If I see that the same organization is not, I cannot stay there. It's not possible. It's not in my nature to pretend, to go along. We must face the inconvenient truth. We must. Because if we are blind, we will be led to the gallows. Everybody can make mistake. People assume responsibilities of their mistake. Nobody is perfect. But there are principles that can never be imperfect. The principle of patriotism. We must always be patriot at every twist and turn, putting Ambazonia first. Once we do not, then we are fighting for ourselves, our positions, fighting for groups and leaders, not the country. Yes, the AGovC had been the most effective liberation movement, not because they are better in being effective managers or anything, it's because they uphold those principles at that moment. But I've realized even in upholding those principles, at the bottom of it, it was for individual career ahead of national interest, and they have clearly demonstrated that. Perhaps they were upholding those principles because they wanted to fool me, Capo Daniel, to bring in my big guns, my credibility, to push the AGovC and the ADF. Not for Ambazonia, but for individuals. But one thing our people must know, the soldiers on the ground are the most wisest and the most selfless people I have ever met. I've never met any general who is as smart as General Efang. A general who provides weapons to every soldier without even consulting any political leadership. General Efang and all the ADF generals. Una cafe then they up, may una continue to be selfless, because I have never seen an ADF general, an ADF soldier attack another general for the mere purpose that he does not belong to his group. It has never happened. That's why I've stood with them, and I will still tell our people the leadership on the ground of the ADF is solid. It's unshakable. But the AGovC leadership in the diaspora, I can tell you, my friend, I'm afraid to say, have demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt that they are no different from the other groups. If they don't change, if they don't realize their mistakes, if they continue to try to threaten individuals in the diaspora, not because they think that they have joined La Republique, or if for them joining La Republique means not being in AGovC, they have lost their mind. I know majority of the people who are especially in the organizations are selfless individuals, because they talk to me every day. If you are in the AGovC.
Wow, those are revelations coming up, and by Capo Daniel. You've heard a lot about his involvement and all those things, interaction with the ADF President AYABA. So let's continue. The message continues. So let's continue listening. Then we'll come back to the analysis.
Different from the people of the SACO who end up being used as a 40-man squad of the white and blue army. If you accept unpatriotic dictatorship today, then you have let down Ambazonia. You have put our cause in peril. But I believe, because of all those who have spoken to me, and the vast majority of the people that I know that are there are all patriots. But we know those ones who are yes sir men have taken hold of the organization, or let me say of the leadership, not the organization, because for the most part, the other functioning part of the organization, all of them are solid, except just the leadership and a few clique of people that surrounds the leadership, the yes sir men. And it's very pathetic, it's very pitiful that these are people I know, I love so much, and I've seen them fight fiercely for our country, giving their all. Were you doing all those things for an individual or for a principle? Do you now think that if you compromise those principles, that organization will still do the same thing that it was doing before? No, it will not. It will not. It's just a matter of time. The moment when a leader is now more concerned about people's popularity, people standing in front, they are running up and down to run and come and be the one to be in front and sign, running up and down to become the new, I'm not talking this one, not pertaining to the spokesman, fighting to come and be the one to publish things, thinking that Capo Daniel was popular because I was publishing things. No. I am who I am because of the principle I stand for, and I'm willing to defend, because I'm a patriot. People do not listen to me because I share information. They listen to me because they know I'm a patriot, and I've always demonstrated that patriotism above myself. That is why I take the stance I did, and their behavior have just proven that I was absolutely right. Because if I was staying there, the opportunities that we have lost, I believe we can get them back. But we will not get them back behaving in the same way we are doing, acting in the same way we are doing. Decisions, when I look at those decisions again, I cry for Ambazonia. I say, we damn suffer. We damn suffer indeed. But Sheshek Inode, hope is alive. If you can hear my voice upholding this principle, willing to take the bullets for you, for the public interest, then hope is alive. I will never abandon my responsibility to lead us through until we found that birth certificate of the former British Southern Cameroon. We must find our birth certificate. We must get back our pride, our identity, and we will win. If you can hear me today, then be sure that there is a person that upholds those principles and that will hold that light to Ambazonia to get to our promised land. Even Israel itself was one damned by God. Israel soldiers who was charging and being so charged that we must go to war with the enemy, when one of them was collecting spoils that God had forbidden, led to the death of thousands of soldiers who did not listen to the word of the prophet. Listen carefully. Judge for yourself. If Capo Daniel is indeed wrong, take that decision. If Capo Daniel is indeed right, then listen to my voice and follow my voice. There are things we must do to free Ambazonia. There are things if we do not do, Ambazonia will be damned. I know because this is an God-ordained struggle, a lot of people think that we must win. No, we can lose. We can lose. As a matter of fact, we will lose this war if we do not do the right thing for Ambazonia. We must do the right thing through righteous means. Only light can chase away darkness. Even if you are a prophet, you disobey the principles of patriotism, you will be a biggest liability to your people than even the enemy itself.
Wow, that's Capo Daniel talking there, and you've heard, you know, there are many things that he knows within the organization. You don't understand, but he understands the organization, and he has worked closer with the AYABA. So there are things that you can say is wrong or is not true or whatever, but you can only tell that when somebody has not worked closer to somebody, you know. And somebody like Capo, whatever he says, you know, we have some truth in it, even though people will doubt it. But this is the spokesperson of the AGovC who resigned, and whatever he says, you know, we cannot deny it, because he has been there tooth and nail, working so hard. I knew that there will be some issues, especially when it comes to management and those issues that sprung up within the Canada talks, and who to do what and how to move, because this is management and leadership. You know, this is sometimes happen when you have leaders who want to stay there forever. They hate challenge. They don't want anybody to replace them, especially when it's their group. They have authority. Nobody can challenge them. You know, they have power to decide. They have power to dismiss. Power to, you know, that is absolute power. And when you have absolute power, it corrupts absolutely. That is a problem with most leadership. And we've seen that in most Ambazonian leaders, where they are elected into office, they stay there until they want to be the president forever. You know, and that is a problem. And when you stay there, when you can still have subordinates who can replace you, we have the same thing that we are running from in La Republic, the mentality of you staying there for a long time. You start saying there's no election, there's no thing, nobody can remove you. That is a problem. And I knew we have been talking about AYABA's leadership. He is not the only person that can be president of AGovC. If he want diversity, if he want to open up the organization, yes, the organization is his. Okay. Is it a money-making organization where he must be the leader, or does he want to make it open? That's the same problem that we have with we had with Nijon Frundi in SDF. Till date, he's still the chairman. Whereas there are competent people within the organization that can lead. That is a problem. And that is the same thing that has happened here in with the AGovC and ADF, because we knew that AYABA's leadership is like an authoritarian leadership, where if you say anything, you might be dismissed, you might be removed, you might be chastised. That is it. And when you have that kind of leadership, is that the same leadership they want to bring to Ambazonia? No, we don't want that. We will not tolerate that kind of leadership where you have absolute power. You have absolute power that you can corrupt absolutely. We don't want that. That is why we are trying to make sure that we give checks and balances to some of these leaders who have taken upon them the authority to go and sign things on behalf of Ambazonians without the approval of Ambazonians. It doesn't work like that. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll see you in the next episode.